So we're here at Sam's Club and we're looking, they don't have the big bags of rice. They got basmati, they got jasmine, but just the regular rice we used to get, they don't have it here anymore. So I don't know if that means they can't get it or what's going on, but this is probably the second time we've been here. They don't have the rice. Welcome back. This is another exciting episode of Prepper Pantry Pick of the Week. Every week we take you shopping with us. This time we went to Sam's Club and we pick out an item and talk about where it fits into your food storage pantry. So this week we picked Kind Minis, and next to the Kind Minis they had the Cliff Bars, and I'm actually going to talk a little bit about both. I only got the Kind Minis, but I'm going to do a little comparing. I did some math and it actually kind of surprised me a little bit between the two. My first reaction was the Kind Minis, right? So we're going to jump into it. What you get into the box, right? What you have here, how many calories, when we look at food storage pantry, you can look in terms of calories, and calories is days, right? And if you had to live only on what you had in your pantry, if there was some kind of a emergency, a disaster, if you weren't able to get to the grocery store, you could find yourself in a position where you had to live on your pantry, or maybe you just can't afford to go to the grocery store. When we look at each item, we talk about how many days, how many calories. Calories is days. So how long could you live on this? Said we're going to do some comps as well. We're going to look at a few other similar items. And if you're looking at building out your long-term food storage pantry or any kind of pantry, there's a great book, A Year Without the Grocery Store, Karen Morris. So we've read through it. There's a lot of good information in here, and really the book is about building that food storage pantry, right? Having enough to live for a year without having to go to the grocery store. So it's a short book, great read. We've talked about it before, but I want to throw it out there because it's really in line with what we're trying to do on these Prepper Pantry videos, is grab items and talk about where they fit in, right? We generally use two numbers when we're going through Prepper Pantry. We use 2,000 calories, which is the FDA standard. And when you're looking at your nutritional information, it's basically when they're talking percentages, right? Percentage of your daily, it's based on a standard, a 2,000 calorie standard diet. The other number we use sometimes is 1,500 calories, and that's supposed to be the starvation level. I think it was Harvard Health, for what it's worth anymore, right? That's supposed to be above the starvation level. And all of that depends on your metabolism, your physiology, your health, and any kind of dietary restrictions you might have. We don't know what they are. So we just kind of talk through it, talk through the item, and you have to adjust for yourself. As a note, contains almonds, peanuts, and soy, may contain tree nuts, sesame seeds, may contain nut shell fragments. So once again, you have to get what works for you. Don't buy nutty Kind bars if you're allergic to nuts. We'll just throw that out there just because. Not that I think I'm going to get sued for it. So we'll talk about the Kind Minis. What do you get in the box? There's two different options here. You got dark chocolate nuts and sea salt, caramel almond, and sea salt, 16 bars of each. When I did the math, I realized the nutritional information is nearly identical. One has 9% fat, one has 10% fat. One has 11% fiber, the other has 14% fiber, but other than that, they're nearly identical. So I just did the math on one of them, which is the dark chocolate nuts and sea salt. In the past, if there's different items in the container, different flavors, and they're dramatically different, I'll go through and average everything out. I didn't this time because the numbers are nearly identical. So nutrition-wise, they're pretty close, whether you're eating your dark chocolate or your caramel almond, right? You're getting about the same thing. So digging into it, lean into it here a little bit. You got 32 bars for $11.98, which works out to 37 cents per bar, and this was on sale. So two flavors, but each flavor has 90 calories. So calories are the same either way. 32 bars equals 32 servings. There says they're mini bars, but it's not really, wasn't really a big deal, but I don't think they're the full size you're used to. I think they're mini ones. So the total in the box, 32 bars, 32 servings, 2880 calories if you ate the whole box, right? So when we break it down to 2,000 calories per day, which is your average diet, we said 22 bars, and that's 1980, and we're going to call that close enough rather than try to factor in like a third of a bar, right? So we'll call 1980 2,000. That would cost you $8.23 for that day. So if you just wanted to live the rest of your life on Kind Minis, not saying you should, you're looking at about $8.23, assuming you get it at the same price that it was on sale. Now I'm going to jump in at some point and compare it to some other options and also talk about the Cliff Bars that were next to it. But if you ate 22 bars a day, you would get 154 grams total fat, which is 198% of the daily recommended. You get 1540 milligrams of sodium, which is 66% of the recommended. 176 grams of carbs, which is 66% of the recommended. A lot of sixes in here. I hope that doesn't mean too much. Total protein, 66 grams. So when we look at protein, they don't actually even have a recommended amount for some reason. I guess they don't think people actually need to eat protein. I sort of think you do. The average recommended is between 50 and 200, and once again, depends on your body. So 66 is like above the minimum, right? It's above 50. It's not heavy protein dense on these ones. Some of your you can say power bars, but that's a brand. You know, your bars, some of them are high protein. These are not super high protein. It contains calcium, iron, and potassium. So this says it has a 1-year shelf life. It may be able to go longer, right? We always talk about that, but it is nuts. Ultimately, it has a lot of nuts in it. Nuts have oils in it, and oils don't necessarily have the best shelf life. They can go rancid on you. Doesn't mean you couldn't eat it in an emergency, but you'd want to use your best judgment. Too much rancid food could make you sick, right? So you have to use your best judgment on that. If you open them up, if they smell funny and you don't want to get sick, maybe don't eat it, right? So Cliff Bars. So I didn't buy the Cliff Bars, but they wanted $22.78 for the box of Cliff Bars sitting right next to it. I'm like, well, this one here is $11.98 versus $22.78. So I'm like, okay, I'll go for the Kind, right? Sounds like it's twice as expensive, and that's kind of the hook there, because maybe it wasn't twice as expensive. So Cliff Bars was 24 bars at 255 calories per bar. This is 32 bars at 90 calories per bar. So there's a lot less calories per bar. There's more bars, which keeps it complicated. But the $22.78 box of Cliff Bars had 6,128 calories in it. This only has 2,880 calories. So it was twice the price, but also twice the calories. And if you were doing the Cliff Bars, you'd only need 6 bars to get to 2,000 calories. On this, you need 22 bars to get to 2,000 calories. They're tiny bars, but still, you need more bars. So for this to get to 2,000 calories is $8.23. For the Cliff Bars, it's $5.69. So even though the box was twice as expensive, if you were shopping on calories, the Cliff Bars is actually a better deal. All right, I don't know how many people shop on calories. I'm not saying I always shop based only on calories, but it was interesting to sit down and do the math. I had to pause for a second, like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So if you're shopping based on calories, the Cliff Bars was actually cheaper, even though on the shelf the boxes are about the same size, and it was twice the price. So something to keep in mind. Sometimes it's worth sitting there and doing the math and seeing what you really get. If you just want this as a snack, then maybe it doesn't matter, right? You just go for the cheaper one. But if you're looking at it as a survival food, calories are kind of important, right? You don't want to starve to death. So I want to do a compare here, and I'd say kind of a standard compare. And if these are some items I've shown before, you've got the USG, I believe. I think it's UST emergency food ration bars. This is a 5-year emergency food ration bar, 2,400 calories. And of course your XMRE. So this one is, I think, 1,300 calories, beef strips and savory sauce. XMRE. So I kind of lump these all together in the same category simply because they are ready to go. Like, this is a meal ready to eat. It's ready to eat, more or less. There's a little more prep on that because you actually have to sort of boil the water, right? Heat it up, rehydrate it. I've eaten these before. I've opened them, the UST bars. They're actually ready to go, and they're not that bad. My dogs kind of went nuts. We made a video cracked it open, we ate it, and it was better than I thought. So this is your 5-year, 2,400 calories. This is said is 1 year. 1 year on the box, 2,800 calories to the box. So I do lump them together because this is super quick and convenient. It does have a mix of nutrients. It's a little low on the protein, but it's the kind of thing you feel like you could take it camping and sort of survive on it, I guess, if you had to, if that was your only option. But looking at the price, the kind was $11.98 for 2,880 calories. We already said that 1 year. So $11.98 for 2,880 calories. The UST bar, which sort of makes me sad because I used to get them for $4. It's $9.99 today for 2,400 calories, and this has got a 5-year shelf life. So this, pretty close, right? Pretty close in price, $9.99, $11.98, 2,400 calories, 2,800 calories. And then, of course, you got your XMRE. This was $16.50 based on today's price. If you got a case of 12 for 200, divided by 12, gets you $16.50 for 1,300 calories. So it's 1,300 calories is more or less half of the average of those. So we're saying you probably got to eat two, right? If you're in a position where you're eating MREs and you don't want to don't want to starve to death, die, you're probably gonna have to eat more than one. 1,300 calories isn't gonna get you there. So you're talking $33 for two of these to get you 2,600 calories. I said that's sort of in the middle between those, and obviously significantly more expensive, 3 times the price. And according to onlines, this has got a 3-year shelf life, which is not that long for what it is, and maybe in reality it probably has a much longer. But they're saying a 3-year shelf life. So if you're shopping based on price, something like the UST or even the kind is going to be a better price if you like your mill syrup. And I'll point that out, right? That's the price on Amazon, $16. I know there's plenty of military surplus where you can get them for like $1 or $5. I see prices all the time. Sometimes those are super expired, but maybe it doesn't matter to you, and that's okay. That's your own business. These are relatively fresh, right? These are made fresh and sold for the civilian market, right? So it's not something that the military had expired and then they're reselling it, and who knows how old, and they're probably still fine, right? I'm not saying they're not, but I tend to lump them all in relatively the same category. They're portable, they're going to be calorie dense. Now for your average person, I know they used to sell these at Walmart. I haven't seen them at Walmart. Some places like your sporting goods stores might have the XMREs. But if you're just looking something easy, most grocery stores are going to have some kind of the food bars, whether it's Kind or Cliff or Power Bars or Tiger Milk or whatever it is. These are pretty standard. And like I said, I tend to lump them all together for that reason. So as always, hope that helps out, right? We appreciate you guys, appreciate you for watching, getting a lot of subscribers and views and comments, and that keeps us fun, right? We're doing this for fun. We're trying to share information, and it's appreciated. People actually watch them and leave comments. So thank you for that, and we appreciate you.